Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of that FPL show. It's game week 19, and it is the holidays. Merry Christmas, everyone, first of all. I'm joined by Jack, Fieldzy, and Rod. How you doing, boys?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Feliz Navidad, bro.
Feliz Navidad. Right, yeah, good to be with you boys again. Obviously, me and Rod weren't long. It wasn't long since the last time me and Rod were together. We went to Birmingham on Saturday to go watch the Villa play, only to be in the pub getting pissed 2 hours before kickoff when it got called off, which was super ideal. Me and Rod just basically went on the last year and went down the German market, see what we could find. We found some very good alcohol, so it was a good time anyway, Rod, wasn't it?
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic, mate. And to top it all off, we had a nice cocktail tree, like the men we are.
Yeah, like the pure masculine beasts we are, Rod. That's what we did. Jack, how was your weekend anyway?
Yeah, it was not too bad, not too bad. Not quite your weekend hitting the Christmas markets, but I probably woke up feeling a bit better than you the next day.
Yeah, I actually wasn't too bad, to be honest. I got real tired towards the end of the day, and I slept pretty well that night. Went to bed early, and then I just had the old alcohol sweats the morning after. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. Let's kick it to you first, Jack. We want to see what you did in fantasy. How did you get on this week?
This one is one to remember, to forget actually.
I think I'm going to remember this for a long time.
Much I asked Santa for some extra points this year. He did not deliver. Most of my team was hit with the COVID disaster class. Not many of my players played at all. And I only ended up with 26 points in the end, which is not great.
Yeah, and your best player got sent off, Jack.
Yeah, so I had Sanchez in goal again. Didn't play. Smedo got no points. Rudiger got me 5, but Robertson put in the Diego Costa performance, got a goal assist, and then gets sent off. So 9 points for him isn't bad, but he obviously won't play the next 2 games. And then Target didn't play. Dyer only got 1 point. Captain Salah, he was blanked for the first time in a while. Surprising. Jota got me a goal, which was not too bad, but none of my strikers played either, which was just
Diabolical.
not great all round.
Yeah, it's a pretty shocking one for you, Jack. Obviously, you're going to have to look to rebound now this coming week. You was very much below the average points for game week 18. 13 in total off the average, Jack. But I'm sure you're going to come back better and stronger next week. Rod, how did you get on?
It was a bit of a weird one. Going into the game week, I had 10 players. Obviously, minus Sanchez, who was confirmed to not be playing a few days before the start of the game week. And then, like you mentioned earlier on, we were at the football for the first game of the weekend, and it got postponed. So there goes Douglas Luiz and Watkins. And then it was decent coming on to Sunday. I did okay considering. Unfortunately, the influence of Grealish meant Foden wasn't playing because those two naughty boys were out on the lash after the Leeds game, and Pep gave him a disciplinary and didn't play Foden. So it left me to the players virtually everyone has in Cancelo, Trent, James, Salah, Jota, meaning I didn't really gain anything, and I took a red arrow from 30k to 42k, which it's not great, but going into this festive period where it looks like games aren't going to be called off, hopefully I can make up some points. And yeah, I mean, I was 10 points above the average, but wasn't good enough. Yourself, Jack?
Yeah, I got on. I mean, I was the king of our group this week. I was the champ for one weekend. I got 51 points to above you, which is like, even though it's 2 points, it's kind of massive because of how shit the game week was. I said on last week's episode that I was going to be leaving it late to make my decision on who I wanted to bring in. And I literally left it to what I thought was the last minute when we was getting on the train. And I made the decision to get rid of Jesus and bring in Watkins. What at the time was, you know what, I think I've got something going on here. And then, obviously, the game week deadline got pushed back, but it was already too late for me because I made my free transfer and brought in Watkins. So, yeah, it was pretty disappointing. Juan got 0 points. Watkins obviously didn't get any, same as Gallagher and Sanchez. But the rest of my team kind of stood up. I had Trent, 7 points. Another good game from Trent. James, 6 points with a clean sheet. Cancelo, I mean, what can you say about the guy? He's been incredible this season. Definitely a must-have in defence for any FPL player. And my midfield was a bit dry in some places. I think Salah and Bernardo obviously blanking. But it is what it is. I obviously had Son, who got the goal against Scousers the other day, and I also had Jota. So all in all, from what a disaster it started out like this game week, it's actually turned out pretty decent for me. I got a green arrow overall, so I mean that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Moving on up. Anyway, guys, I guess we should talk about these fixtures which just happened, and I guess we'll start with the first game, boys, as it is probably the least impactful in the league, probably. So I'm going to kick it to you first, Rod. Did you see the highlights of the Leeds Arsenal game? Because obviously we were on the train coming back when this was on.
I did. I think I watched the highlight. No, I didn't. I'll be lying to you, but I spoke to my mate, he's a Leeds fan. From what he said, I mean, their squad was completely bare bones, and they were pretty poor once again, Leeds, and Arsenal were the better side and quite comfortably won going off the scoreline. And yeah, it's not looking great for Leeds, but like we said last week, for me, Arsenal are improving, and we go on about the games they should be winning, and this is a game they should have won, and they did. So good stuff for Arsenal, and it's not looking great for Leeds at the moment.
It certainly isn't. Jack, did you at least catch the highlights for this one? I have, but I was just wondering if you have.
Yeah, I watched the highlights, and
Yeah.
following off my comments last episode, Arsenal proved me wrong. I think
Did say
you've got to take into some consideration that Leeds were
shite.
pretty bare-boned and really didn't put any sort of performance in at all, in my opinion. But I seemed like this was one of those games that Arsenal expect to win, and they did win. It seems like they've got their sort of team, their starting lineup, sort of settled. I think for this half of the season, I don't think I could have picked a steady Arsenal 11, and I think this is one of the first couple of times where they played the exact same 11. And to be fair, they played quite well. I thought they played really well. Very pleased with their performance.
I think like what you said, I don't think you've been proved wrong exactly, Jack. I still don't think Arsenal are that team. Like we said that they can beat the guys below them. They struggle with the teams around them, and they bend over for the teams above them. That's the way I see it anyway. But yeah, like you said, they do have a a more steady lineup, like you said, and I've been really impressed with Odegaard recently. I thought he had another great game against Leeds, and in terms of Arsenal, you gotta just say they did what they needed to. They were the better team. They deserved to win. Really outplayed Leeds, and for Leeds, I still just can't believe what's going on there. They're falling apart. Obviously, Rod, you spoke to your mate about the lineup. I still think they got enough experience in their team to be doing well. Obviously, they got the young man Joe Galdhar up front. It could have been sent off. As could have Granit Xhaka in this game, but to have Jack Harrison, Rafinha, Forshaw, Stuart Dallas, Koch, and Ayling, I think there's enough experience there to at least put up a bit of a fight. And I didn't see them doing that. Really disappointed in them. I think Bielsa. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of leaning on the fence of maybe bringing in a new manager, depending on who they could attract. I think, like, with the size of the club of Leeds, I think they could attract a pretty decent manager to come in. And, the way Bielsa's setting the team up, I just don't think he's doing it the right way. I think the team's performing badly. And if he can't get him up for a game against Arsenal at home, I'm really not sure what he's doing there.
I don't know. I feel like you got to take into account they have got a lot of injuries, and a couple players will come back and then they'll get injured again, and they can't really. Completely opposite to what Arsenal, where they've got a steady squad. Leeds can't get that because any time a player comes in, another one gets injured, and they just can't find any fluidity in their squad lineups and
consistency.
I don't know. Consider that's it exactly what I was looking for. That
Yeah.
it's been a long day at work, but I don't know. They'll be fine this year. They won't get relegated, but
Really?
they definitely won't be the highs of what they had last year. That's for sure.
I'm not as confident in saying they won't get relegated this season. I've just really been disappointed in them, and I think the question is there more than 3 teams worse than them in the league? I think you could probably make the argument that there is, but
I would
go
I
on.
would love if they got relegated. I would love it if that happened. Love it.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, I think you can make the argument that there's more than 3 teams worse than them, but I just don't see Leeds, but I think last season, they were picking up results against the big boys, they're putting in performances where, they might not get the win, but they're at least giving you confidence, and this team is lacking that. And, I agree with you on what you're saying about, the injuries and not being able to find a consistent base for the team, but in my opinion, this is a big game against Arsenal. They still have enough experienced players in there. They've got the captain of the club in the team. It's just dire, they just don't look like anything's going to happen. 2 shots on target the entire game at home. And it's not like Arsenal dominated all the play, it was 50-50 on the possession. It's just, obviously, Leeds weren't doing enough with it. I thought Arsenal pressed well at times in the game. I think you saw with the first goal from Martinelli, it was a great bit of pressing from the Arsenal team to win the ball back quickly from Lacazette. I think got the assist for that as well. Yes, he did. But yeah, just overall, really disappointing in Leeds, and with Arsenal, just getting the job done. I guess we'll move on now to some of the, were they 2 o'clock kickoffs? We'll start with Newcastle, another relegation, pretty much relegation nailed on team at the moment. I think they are showing signs of a team which could get out of there with the right recruitment, but definitely lacking something at the moment, and they didn't have enough to offer City on the weekend, Rod.
City were just dominant throughout, and Newcastle, they did look a bit idealist, but I think now they've realised why they paid 40 million for Joel Linton, for him to be a central midfield player, because he does look really galvanised under Eddie Howe, and there is this resurgence from him where he actually looks like he wants to play football. But you can quite see his quality is poor, but his work ethic's there, and that will go a long way, especially for Newcastle.
He tries hard.
He tries.
He needs
He's a trier.
He's
a lot of the time,
he's
as
the
a
kid
fan,
who always gets the medal for just turning up,
a lot of time as a fan, that's just a lot of things you just do want. You want the players to try, and if you put in a good performance in terms of work ethic, then a lot of time that's enough. But City were dominant, and João Cancelo was absolutely phenomenal. And he's showing you why he's probably one of the best right backs in the world right now, along with Trent Alexander-Arnold. The way he travels with the ball, his passing, his crossing, he's an absolutely brilliant player. And yeah, City, it's just a performance where you expect them to win. They did, and I'm really struggling to give anyone else the title at the moment but City. But shout out to the referee, an absolute howler, which I'm sure we're going to touch on shortly. But
yes, we are.
What is going on?
Mate, they are so shit. Yeah, Jack, just to bring it to you, I thought Newcastle did well at times in terms of, they had opportunity but didn't create chances. That's how I would sum it up, you look at the penalty shout, a couple of times St. Maximin again on the ball. Wilson had a couple efforts, just couldn't quite manage to put one of them home, but one shot on target at home as well. You're not really expecting much, but then again, coming up the champions, what do you expect really? Were you impressed by Newcastle at all in this game, Jack? Or?
Yeah, I think they tried to put up a bit of a fight with what they had, and I thought they were a tad unlucky at times, where if they were a bit more clinical, they might have nicked the goal potentially. Like if they could have at times nicked the goal, or they could have got that penalty. And if there's a goal, if City can see the goal, it could have changed the game. Apart from a few odd chances and a clear penalty that they didn't get, I thought City pretty much bossed it, business as usual from their part. And I agree with Rod. I can't see anyone slowing them down. They not just beating the teams that they should be beating, they're doing it quite comprehensively.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's always a good sign. It's not ever a close game like Liverpool had with Wolves the other night, where it was 1-0, Riggy scoring in the last minute. You don't really see City having those games very often at all.
Yeah, Jack, I totally agree. And, they done it again, Rod City. They managed to make 4-0 look boring. I just think, this game was a real standout for Cancelo, like you said earlier on, Rod. And, if he's not the best right back in the world, maybe he's the best left back because he's so versatile, can play on either side, really suits the Pep system well. I thought his goal was amazing, first of all, but also you got to look at the defense, the amount of room he's given to take the shot, the ease in which he goes past two players on the Newcastle side. I think there is both highs for Newcastle. Obviously, they got to look forward now to, I think they're I think it's only one game, isn't it, now until the January transfer window, in which hopefully they can bring in some recruitments to bolster the squad. But I think on the high note, you can see that Eddie Howe coming in, like how much better of a coach he is, and how they do seem to have a plan. It might not be going the way they plan it, but at least they're putting in that fight and giving it everything they've got. And I still wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle can stay up. It's all about how quick they can bring in these players now in January, how the quality of the players, and how quick it's going to take for them to adapt to the Prem. And if they can get all three of that bit right, I think they've got a chance. But it's definitely going to be difficult. We'll move on, I guess, to Wolves against Chelsea. This game was a bit of a snooze fest. It was under the fog at Molineux. Chelsea, as you can see on the stats here, having the majority of the possession. But I actually felt like Wolves were the more dangerous side, even though they had 4 less shots than them. Obviously, you can see 2 shots on target in the entire game. Obviously, Wolves had the goal disallowed for Podence when how Jimenez looked as if he was going to play the ball and was considered offside. I think this is a disappointing result for Wolves, but I think they'll take it because, a point against Chelsea is always a good one. But just how bad is this for, Chelsea and their title aspirations, Rod?
It is huge, mate. We talked about, I think, the game prior to this. I think they got a draw, am I correct?
They did, yes. They drew against someone, Rod. That's all I can tell you. I forgot.
And then prior to that, they just narrowly beat Leeds, and then prior to that, they lost to West Ham. And right now, they're sitting 6 points behind City, who are top.
Yeah.
And it's not looking great for Chelsea. Albeit COVID hasn't helped, but it hasn't helped anyone. People have had to still deal with it, injuries, etc. But 6 points at the halfway point, that is a considerable distance to try and make up, especially when City do look quite so good. So I think Chelsea are slowly but surely dropping out of the title race, leaving it down to Liverpool and City. But
yeah,
0-0 against Wolves, that's a result they're going to think we needed to win there. We needed to make up some sort of ground, especially with Liverpool drawing and City winning.
The last result was a 1-0 draw against Everton, who had the really depleted squad. But I think this game was slightly different to that game, where Everton, they had so many chances to win it, and they just weren't clinical enough, and defensively they weren't switched on enough. I think in this game it really showed more of the fact that they didn't have that many opportunities, but still they just weren't clinical enough. I think you're looking at a Chelsea squad who are really missing a number 9 at the minute. I still think getting rid of Tammy Abraham was a big mistake, and only having Werner as the backup for Lukaku hasn't been great for him this season. Obviously, in this game I saw Pulisic going through the middle quite a bit, and I just don't think he's that clinical. Maybe you'll prove us wrong in the future. But Jack, that's 2 back-to-back draws, for Chelsea. But it's got to be looked as, 4 points drop now, isn't it, from the last 2 games, Jack?
Oh, definitely. And I saw this one come in. I predicted 0-0 draw solely because I think Wolves are very solid at the back, and Chelsea are really missing a striker, and I just didn't see them having any sort of firepower to get through Wolves. And I didn't watch this game. I saw the result and I was like, I'm not too keen on watching the highlights of this one. But looking at the stats, like Chelsea only had one shot on target the whole game, which is quite surprising because it seems to me that Chelsea didn't even really have
The
any
creation.
chances. They didn't really create the chances or sort of bombard Wolves and hold them back. So I think I think their whole system sort of falls apart with key players missing. And it's just not going forward when you are going to have injuries and people out with COVID. Yeah, I do think it's 4 massive points dropped. And with a team as good as City at the moment, I think that any sort of drop points against teams lower down is just crucial, and you're not going to win the title doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree, Jack. And talking about drop points, unfortunately, Jack, for you, I guess luckily for me, I think I'm going to enjoy talking about this game. It was Liverpool who dropped 2 points against Tottenham away. How do you actually see this game, Jack? Obviously, I think it's fair to say, you can go into the game expecting one thing and hoping for certain things. But, as the game plays out, different things happen. In this game, it was the red card for Robertson in the 69th minute. Did that change the game for you? And you was really just looking to hang on then, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Going into it, I thought that it'd be a scrappy game, which it really was. I'm trying to count up all the yellow cards prior to the red card, and I think it's about
1, 2,
9,
3, 4,
8.
5. No, it's a lot of.
8 yellow.
Yeah, I mean.
So it was
Yeah, go on.
a
Sorry.
very scrappy game, and I thought that Liverpool would just edge it. And then we had a few more COVID injuries and just sort of resting players. So I looked at the starting lineup and I was like, this is going to be an extremely tough game. I didn't even think we'd get a result, to be honest. I thought it would be a draw with that midfield. I think it was probably one of the worst midfields I've seen in Liverpool for a while. Like, usually you have like a Henderson or Thiago in there. But,
Tyler Morton,
I
James
thought
Milner,
that
and
the,
Naby Keita.
yeah, I thought my opinion, I thought the Kane should have been a red card, but I don't think it can be excused like how quite bad Liverpool were. But I didn't think
Yeah.
they played well at all, and they were so open at the back that Spurs had just hoofed the ball long, and they looked like scoring. Alisson, yeah, he gave away Son's goal a little bit, but he had a great game. So many one-on-one chances that they had that he saved and like put players off and tipped them around the corner. I thought by the end Liverpool were lucky to get a point.
Yeah.
The amount of chances I thought Spurs had, but I think that again Liverpool could have had a penalty, and the fact they didn't even go to VAR is just angered me a bit. There was just kind of like, why not even looking at it? I did think the Robertson one was a red card, but I don't think you can give one of the red cards and not the other.
Yeah, I remember talking to my mum about this game actually, and she's like, these refs are all for Liverpool. I'm like, Mum, you just got to watch the game. It's literally say dog shit because they can make decisions which look like they're going for one team, but then ultimately give another decision which looks like it's going Spurs' way and stuff like that. And I thought this game was just full of that, to be honest. I feel like in general, I didn't feel like it was a bad sort of game from Liverpool. I definitely don't think it was one of their better games. I think for Spurs it is definitely one for the fans to be optimistic about. I think you saw Dele Alli, who I thought had a fairly decent game. I think he messed up a little bit in the final third a couple of times. I think when you look at the chance he had one-on-one with the goalkeeper, when he went down a bit light in the box because he took a bad touch, and the pass to Harry Kane as well. But all in all, I thought from Spurs, they were good. They had to sit deep at times, but I think that when they needed to go forward, they played well. Obviously, the equaliser. Oh, go on, Jack.
Yeah, so me saying like how bad Liverpool, I thought Liverpool were bad, but it's nothing against Spurs. I did think they played quite well actually.
Yeah,
Like sort of like the old Spurs where you'd have quite a bit of link-up play through Kane and everything. It's like nice football going forward. I thought they got a bit of that back to in that game.
I felt like going forward they looked more of a threat. Obviously the goal for Son ultimately coming from a mistake from Allison, but then, like you said, he did have a really good game in general. He made quite a few saves, and I think you got to look at the Liverpool goal as a bit of a jammy one as well, because Robson's goal coming from a what do you call it, handball from Salah. I felt like anyway, and I felt like that shouldn't have been a goal. Obviously, the Spurs fans were outraged because they weren't given the penalty for Ali. I thought it was a little bit light in general. But yeah, after Robertson got sent off in the 77th minute, the game definitely changed, and Liverpool didn't have that same sort of threat going forward. I think Spurs were still looking for a winner, but just couldn't find it. And I think you got to look at the formation a little bit. Sometimes the Spurs, they did kind of struggle to create chances with it after Liverpool went down to 10 men. I also thought that Reguilon had a bit of a shocker when he came on late in the game. Had a couple of chances to create a chance, but just ended up fumbling the bag a bit. Rod, what did you make of the game?
So I think it was an absolutely fantastic game of football.
Yeah,
And
100%.
Salah handball. So they actually changed the rule last year where if Salah was the person who have scored that, then it would have been disallowed. But as it was I think it was accidental handball, and then he didn't score, and someone else scored, it was basically allowed.
Yeah.
But I thought absolutely fantastic game. I thought he could have gone either way. And Jota, considering how small he is, his aerial ability is ridiculous. But I felt Son could have scored a couple. I think Kane should have scored a couple.
Yeah.
But my hatred for Kane is off the scale now, where he's England's golden boy simply because he's England's captain. He gets all the decisions his way, and anything he does, it's named as either cute or magic or whatever, when in actual fact it's cheating. And for him to come out at the end of the game and say he thought he won the ball is fucking ludicrous, because he should have been off. Robbo absolutely should have been off as well, but they need to be consistent. You can't... And for it to not even go to VAR with Kane, who, if Robbo didn't jump, he breaks his leg. It's ludicrous, but it was a fantastic game of football, and I think Spurs, for me, did have the better chances and probably should have won the game. So they're going to see it as 2 points lost, but big result for them either way, and a good point for Liverpool. And I think now we're seeing glimpses of what Antonio Conte is bringing to the Premier League and to Tottenham.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But just going back to that Salah chance, Rod, this is how I saw it anyway. I thought there was 2 fouls in the build-up. Like, obviously you go accidental handball, but I think if that's a defender in the box, they're going to give a handball for that and a penalty. I felt like because he handled it, it went in a position where Lloris had to make a touch for it, which caused the ball to go back to Liverpool and ultimately scoring a goal. But also, while he's touching the ball, he's actually kicked in the ribs by Sadio Mane, and I was like, that could be a free kick as well. I think the rule changes are bollocks, to be honest. I think these officials are just kind of a bit dog shit. I thought we saw that in the game as well. I think the Robbo red card is only because of the force he put in trying to kick the ball. He missed the ball, and I think it's one of those ones where you can go, yeah, it's a red card, but on the other hand, I don't know. I don't think it was that bad. I think the Kane one as well. It is a red card. You can't go off the foot with studs up, off the ground. Sorry, with studs up. And he did and it was just a red card in any other game, I feel like.
I'll jump in. So I've just got the rule, and handball before scoring. The second change is an accidental handball in the immediate build-up to a goal. If an attacking player's accidental handball immediately precedes another player scoring, the goal will now be awarded, when last season it was likely to have been ruled out.
Yeah, but
however, a player will still be penalised if he commits an accidental handball immediately before scoring himself.
It doesn't make a difference to me, because the handball that Salah has causes Lloris to have to go for the ball, because if he doesn't handball it, obviously the ball's not going to go in Lloris's direction, so he doesn't have to go for it. And the fact that he handballed it, in my opinion, led to the goal. and it should be a handball, and the accidental handball thing is just shocking because it's not the same. So it's like, obviously it's given an advantage to attackers, which I don't ultimately care about too much. They always go, "Oh, give an advantage to attackers," where in other parts of the game they just, they try and make any change to the rules to, like, hinder the attackers. I feel like the rule changes is absolutely, I think it's stupid, to be fair, Rod. I think it's a handball. If it was my team, I'd be fuming.
No, I agree with you. I was just simply getting the rule up. But for me, I feel like Jota should have had a penalty, a blatant push in the back, but nothing given. It was just another.
It's just inconsistencies, man. And I think we should go on to talking about these referees because, like in the Newcastle City game, I don't think I've ever seen such a clear penalty which hasn't even been, like, debated, like, really. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like it never really happened, it feels like, online. No one really gives a shit when it's such a clear penalty. Just because the defender's got the ball and therefore, Fraser's not going to get the ball doesn't mean that Ederson can just go straight through him. I think it's ridiculous the way this game's going. And these referees, the reason they're getting away with such ridiculous things is because they're not held accountable. If I feel like if a player does something ridiculous, he is held accountable. He's banned. Like, he's getting matches suspended. He's getting reduced, cut to his wage, stuff like that. And I just feel like it's not the same for these referees.
And for me, I know it didn't really have an outcome on the game, but like it's a blatant foul, and Newcastle are going to feel like, what is going on? Because I do feel like if it was the other way around, I think the top 6 club agenda for VAR, I think it does exist. But like if City are fouled in that position, it's given, and for me it just doesn't make any sense because Ederson has wiped him out. It's clumsy, but it's a foul. Like how is nothing given? And it's just beyond me how, like, each week it's not even a new topic anymore. Each week we're pointing out multiple errors. Yeah. And this is meant to be the best league in the world with the best officials, the best players, and millions of pounds put into it. But yet we're seeing decisions which I feel on Sunday League they'd be given.
Yeah, I feel like you said, the top 6 agenda. I don't even understand it because if that happens to City and you don't give it happens to Newcastle, you don't give the foul. You got 40, 50,000 Newcastle fans up on their feet screaming at you. You do it in a City game, you're gonna have like 3 guys and Rosette talking to you, going, "Oh, ref." It's not even that big of a difference. Well, it is a big difference, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Newcastle, massive club, and that could actually define the season. Because what if they are level on points with a team, in 17th and 18th, and it's back and forth, and at the end of the season, level on points, but because of Newcastle not being able to get a goal in that game, it could see them go down. And the refs, I feel like they officiate these games like, oh well, if I get it wrong, we've always got next week, stuff like that, and then they fuck up again. And in my opinion, it's making a really poor viewing experience for not only fans, but I think neutrals watching worldwide because there's so many controversies going on in the world of football at the moment, and I'd rather go back to without VAR because I feel like without VAR he's going to give that as a penalty. But the fact he's got VAR there, he doesn't give it because he knows he's got VAR up there who can help him with making the decision after. But it doesn't even matter because it's not even about making the right decision with VAR. It's about, oh, did the referee really miss it or did he not miss it? It's just fucking ridiculous. Clear and obvious. I don't give a fuck. Just make the right decision. I think things have got to change in football, and it's got to start with these officials and referees.
And I'm sure Jack Field's going to have something to say along with that.
Come on, Fieldzy.
I am in the same mind as I think VR was brought in to sort of remove any controversies or any bad decisions. I seem like we get even more bad decisions from VAR, and I feel like the refs are cautious of making decisions, as they'd much prefer to make no decision and then VAR look at it and go, you're sort of right, we're not going to bother, rather than them giving a penalty, for example, and then VAR overturning it, so they don't want to seem wrong that they don't give anything. It's really harming football. And I think that just referees just don't have any common sense. Like, they're so stuck on the rule book and the rules that they've been taught and that the VAR follows that they just don't have their own common sense to look at something and go, "Oh, he's actually wiped him out there." I know there's nothing to do with the play, but he has actually wiped him out there. There's no common sense as to what has actually happened. They just follow the rules to the word, and I'd rather them make decisions based on what they've seen rather than following the rules to the exact letter and then not making a decision because they don't want to seem like they've done it wrong. It's just so inconsistent.
What intrigues me is what do they say on the microphone and what can they hear in the earphones? Like, what's the discussion between them and Stockley Park? Because when something like that happens, do they even discuss it, or they are just play on? We didn't see anything, or what actually goes on?
I have no idea, Rod, but they're there watching the game, and they haven't flagged up that is a clear and obvious error. And I feel like referees don't want to make a judgment, and they go off what a referee's seen or chosen not to give because they're hoping VAR will overturn it. But then the VAR team, like, well, he hasn't given that. So do we want to say he's wrong here?
Yeah.
And it's just it's a vicious circle of nobody wanting to give a decision on something that is clear and obvious.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I'd actually think when the ref blows for, kick off at the start of the game, I think the people in Stockley Park go for a fag around the back of the sheds because it's almost like they're not there because they don't really have an impact on the game. Like, basically, it's like if it's an actual penalty, they go up to VAR, the refs probably not give the penalty. And no, the refs probably give the penalty, then VAR overturns it. It's just like, it's backwards, this game. And then when it's not a penalty, the ref gives it, goes up to VAR, and they go, yeah, that's pen. And then the whole thing, like, looking at the screen, why does he need to look at the screen when it's clear and obvious that it's fucking a foul? And certain things like this, to be honest, I just think it's a bit backwards at the moment, football. I feel like Liverpool are going to feel cheated out of that game line because, you got to look at the game as a whole, and I think, Harry Kane should have probably been sent off, and if that happens, it changes the game entirely. And, Liverpool now 3 points behind City, and it's hard to catch up City because they hardly drop points. They've only drawn 2 and lost 2 in their opening 18 games. Liverpool have drawn 5, and that's massive. And Chelsea now, they're 5 points clear of Chelsea. I think this league is kind of, it's just going to be so hard. They're 6 points clear of Chelsea. I just don't see anyone catching them, and I feel like when decisions aren't being made in the moment correctly, and they've got the assistance of VAR, and VAR aren't really assisting them, it's just it's ruining the actual league as a whole.
And we're gonna next week on the show, I'm sure we're gonna talk about something else which has happened this weekend, and it is just a vicious cycle of constant refereeing mistakes, and VAR was brought in to bring in retrospective action of if a referee has made a mistake, then they overrule it, but we're not seeing any of that, and we're seeing worse decisions.
Yeah, man, I agree. Should we have a look at these upcoming Boxing Day games then, boys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, lads. Right. It starts at 12:30 on BT Sport with Liverpool at home against Leeds. I guess we should probably kick this one to Jack to start off with. What do you think's going to happen on this one, mate?
I hope we can bounce back from the drop points against Spurs, and I think we will. I think this is quite a nice fixture for Liverpool to get back to winning ways. Hopefully we'll have few more players, and especially in midfield, coming back. Not sure about the people who've been out on COVID, if they've served their time isolating or not, but it is 4 days away, so hopefully we'll be having a lot stronger team. Robertson being suspended is a loss, but Simicas, the backup left back, has been really good when Robertson's been out. So I don't see it as a massive miss for this game. So I'd reckon Liverpool can bounce back with a 3-1 win.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Jack. I actually think you might do it without conceding. For me, Leeds have looked pretty lacklustre so far. I think, like you said as well, Robbo out, it's not going to be too much of a hindrance, especially coming up against Leeds as well. I think Tsimikas has proven to, being a really solid player when he's come in for you boys, and it's going to be interesting with him up against Rafinha, but I just see Liverpool really bossing the game from start to finish. I'm going to go 4-0 Liverpool in this one. What about you, Rod?
Yeah, just touching on obviously the Boxing Day fixtures, it's nice to get a bit of clarification from the Premier League that it's unlikely that more football is going to be postponed, so long as people can field 14 players. Well, have 14 players available, and that includes under 21s.
Yeah.
So I think we are going to see a lot of depleted squads probably, but once again, it's going to be a good opportunity for the youth probably to shine through, and maybe fringe players to leave their mark. So us seeing football is a win-win, and the youth getting game time is a win for them. But in regards to this game, I think Liverpool are suffering a few injuries, especially with now Robbo out. Obviously, Tsimikas is going to get a go. They should be strong enough to beat Leeds comfortably. Leeds, they're on a poor run of form, and I can't see Liverpool losing, especially when Salah's in this hot bout of form. Firmino's back, Yotta's doing well. I am going to go for a 2-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, that just reminded me. We didn't just go to Birmingham to go on a lash last week. We went to go watch a football match which never took place, and that just reminds me to actually say, I think it's disgusting how they did it. I really don't mind them postponing games and stuff like that, but you've got to do it within a certain, time period, because it's not even just the Villa fans. Obviously, we went down on the train, about hour and a half on the train, was it, Rod? And, we didn't really mind that. Per se, but look at the Burnley fans. They'd have been halfway down there driving, and to have it called off 2 hours before kickoff, I thought was actually a really disgusting move from the Premier League. Like I said, obviously they had to postpone it, but you got to do it at an earlier time. I think obviously they had the results and that, but to leave it till that late, I think just wrong. Anyway, moving on to the Wolves-Watford game, I actually see this one being a really good game for Wolves. I can see them getting on the front foot quite early. Obviously, I haven't seen Watford what feels like an age now. It's only probably been 1 week, but feels like ages since the last time I watched Watford play. Wolves at home as well. Too good defensively, I think, for Watford. Maybe Watford could get one goal through Dennis or something like that, but I see Wolves dominating the game, just having too many chances. Maybe not the most clinical team, but I think they'll create some chances, and they'll probably end up winning this one 2-1. What do you think, Rod?
It's actually interesting that this game's also at 12:30. I think the first time in a while that two games on at 12:30.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Wolves are probably going to be too good defensively for Watford, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dennis does score, or maybe King. But I'm going to go with a Wolves win. I think they should. This is another game that Wolves are going to look at and think we can get a result here. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wolves win.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fieldzy, what are you saying?
Yeah, I think that last few games for Wolves, they put in some sort of dogged defending games where they only lost 1-0 to City and Liverpool, got a 1-0 against Brighton, and then drew to Burnley. So I'm hoping that for them, and draw to Chelsea as well, that now against Watford they see them as a team that they can maybe score a few goals against, because they haven't scored many, but they've kept it tight at the back. So hopefully for them they can sort of get a few and still keep a clean sheet and get 3 points. So I'd go 2-0 Wolves.
Yeah,
I can't see Watford just scoring.
Yeah. I think that's a good point there, Jack. I do think Watford are going to struggle. Burnley against Everton. I can't think of a more boring game to be going to on Boxing Day, actually. Everton really haven't showed much recently. Obviously, they got the result against Chelsea with the draw with the young lads, but yeah, I think it's going to depend on what the Burnley lineup looks like. You know what? I think Burnley are actually going to give it to them in this game. I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley. I just feel like, Burnley coming back, the big boys. I think they can rough up Everton quite a bit, and Everton have struggled of late. Obviously, I know they got the draw against Chelsea, but it was kind of like a flukish result because of, it wasn't really the Everton lineup. There was a lot of kids in there and stuff like that. So yeah, 2-0 Burnley. Oh, go on, Rod,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, you're completely right. This is a very boring game on paper, with Everton playing rather negative football along with Burnley. But good news is Calvert-Lewin is rumoured to be going to be back on the bench for that game, so that could be a big boost. I can imagine they won't rush him back though. But I do think Everton are going to be too strong, and if they don't win, big question marks are going to have to be asked of Rafa Benitez, because it was just simply not good enough. So I'm going to go with 2-1 Everton win.
Yeah, I think that might be last on the Christmas wish list on Match of the Day running order. Yeah, just not much in it. What do you think, Jack?
I think Everton probably might have taken some confidence with the Chelsea result, and I think that the youth coming through will have a bit of an impact on them, and like in a positive way, that they might be a bit more up for it, and they got more energy about them with quite a young team coming through, and obviously having Dominic Calvert-Lewin even on the bench should be a good bonus for them, and he could come on and maybe get a goal or be a bit of a nuisance up front. So I can see Everton winning, maybe 1-0, but maybe 2-1. But I think that Everton will get the result here.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. City against Leicester, I think this is an interesting game. I think City are just too dominant, and they probably will steamroll Leicester. But I'm interested to see, what sort of Leicester team's going to turn up here. Obviously, they've had a little bit of a break as well as everyone else. Well, mostly everyone else. I'd be, interested to see, what sort of attitude they're going to have towards this game. Obviously, they're going to have to sit back at times and try and nick the ball off City. But I'm going to go with Leicester to keep it a bit tighter. So I'm going to go 1-0 City in this game. Yeah. Rod, what do you think?
I think this fixture last year, I think it was this Man City at home as well. I think Leicester went a bit mental and scored, what was it, like 5-1?
Yeah, I think it was 5-2, I think.
5-2, where James Maddison went on an absolute mad one. This year, Leicester look a completely different team, so I can't see it being anything like that. City, it'd be interesting to see who they do play, because obviously the festive fixtures do come thick and fast, and their squad is rather huge. But yeah, it's going to be tight. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Man City win.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent result. Yeah, what do you think, Jack? So you're going to drop points?
I think that I'm looking at this fixture and I'm thinking that I'm hoping that Leicester can hold on here and maybe take a point. I think that this is the first big game that City have played for a while. Well, anyone in the sort of top 6, and in the last games they've steamrolled teams. I think that hopefully Leicester can just be a bit tighter at the back and maybe nick a goal. And I'm thinking it could be maybe a 2-2 goal fest. Well,
I'm
hoping.
Yeah,
2 absolute scrappy Leicester goals.
No, I hope that happens, to be honest, but I think it's a bit of a shame. Like, I'm looking at these fixtures now. We've got Brentford against Brighton, which I think will actually be a pretty decent game, but to not have the City, Leicester, or, maybe even Spurs Palace game on being televised is a bit of a shame. But next game, Norwich against Arsenal. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired now. What do you think, Rod? I'll kick off to you first. I'm a bit undecided about this one.
The Arsenal Norwich, yeah?
Yeah, yes, mate.
Oh, you just my mic went for a second then.
Oh, sorry.
You see, this is a game I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal lost. I've been going on about Arsenal doing really well.
We say this every week.
Winning games they should be winning. I'm gonna stick with my guns, but my subconscious is telling me Norwich are gonna win. But I believe in Arteta and the process. I'm gonna go comfortable 2-0 Arsenal win, and I just think Norwich after this They're as good as down for me.
Oh, that's interesting. Go on then, Jack.
I think that in the past, I probably would have said this is a game that Arsenal dropped points on. But the last few games they've been steady, and I think it's mainly due to the fact that maybe Arteta's getting his system in and the players playing how he wants to play, but also like their consistent lineup and they've got that starting 11 now. But with this being like a midweek game, I don't know if Arteta would make any changes, sort of rotate the squad a bit with whatever players they have.
Yeah.
So if they were to rotate a few players and rest a few players, I think that Norwich can come away with a point here, and I'd go 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I think that's actually
against Arsenal again.
I think that's a good point actually to see what he does with the Arsenal lineup. Obviously, Arsenal did play this past weekend, but so they're gonna have a week off. But it's only on Tuesday that they go. They host Wolves at midday, so they haven't really got a lot of time to turn around. So could maybe see some changes to the Arsenal squad. Maybe just rotate a couple of players here and there. I actually think Norwich will give them a good game, especially at home. I thought they looked really good against United. Obviously struggled a little bit against Villa, but I feel like they got. I'm gonna go with a draw here. I'm gonna go with 1-1 draw. That takes us on to Spurs Palace. I think this is actually a really good game, especially Spurs coming off the result against Liverpool with draw. It's going to give them a little bit of confidence to maybe think, we are actually one of the big boys in this league. Let's, do it. And Palace have been really impressed with this season, as you already know. So I'm going to go with 3-1 Spurs. No, I'm not. I'm going to go 3-1 Palace. 3-1 Crystal Palace. I just rate them. And Spurs are Spursy, so this is what they do. What do you think, Rod?
Yeah, to be fair, the leg at home this earlier on this season,
Yeah.
I think Palace, Edouard, I think, is this the game he came on and bagged a couple?
Yeah, he scored with his first touch for Palace, didn't he?
Yeah, so obviously Nuno's not at the wheel anymore.
And Tanganga got sent off. Yeah.
We did, that's the game. Obviously Nuno's not at the wheel anymore. Spurs do look a bit more solid, but on paper I do quite like this game as a fixture. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, though. I do think
Yeah.
it's going to be an entertainer, though, and 9 games on Saturday's match a day will be an interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, sorry, Jack, just before you go, I just wanted to say I didn't even know it was happening, but just to think about the Arsenal game, like I said, I thought they had a week off. They don't really, because I just looked up on my TV and they're playing in the Carabao Cup right now against Sunderland, so not as big as the break as I thought. But anyway, Jack, what do you think of the Spurs Palace game?
I really like this fixture, and I was almost tempted to watch it on the 3 o'clock, but I think Crystal Palace will do them here. I think Spurs will get a bit of confidence from the Liverpool draw. I think that game just suited Conte's style of play, just dropping back in on the counter attack, and I'm not sure if they will do that against Crystal Palace, and that they'll feel that they have to attack more, being the better team on paper in a way.
No,
I think that Palace could nick a point. I would think I'd go 2-2 draw here.
Okay.
I think that Crystal Palace have been quite a good team this year. I think they'll give Spurs a good game.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Jack. I definitely see Palace making it quite interesting. Next game, West Ham against Southampton. I think this is a game where you're going to have to see Antonio maybe come back into a bit of form, because I think West Ham have definitely been missing goals recently, and Southampton are certainly a team you can get goals against. A bit shaky at the back, lacking a bit of experience here as well. And going forward, they're not necessarily the most clinical team. I am very impressed though with the guy on loan from Chelsea, Broha. I think he looks like a real deal at the number 9 position. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 West Ham with a Broja goal. So I'm going to start him in my fantasy team this week.
Broja, mate, looks like a serious talent. Really, really good. I don't see him getting any...
full Charlie Slop on us then. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Rewind! But yeah, Broja looks a very good player, but they're coming up against a good West Ham team, whereas Southampton are known at the moment for leaking goals. And hopefully this can kickstart a bit of run of form for Antonio, as I know he's in a lot of fantasy teams, including mine. So I'm going to go for a West Ham 2-1 win. And once again, I do feel like this will be an absolute cracker.
Really?
I do.
Oh, okay. What do you think, Jack?
I think it'd be the complete opposite, and I think that both teams are
Shit.
struggling for goals at the moment. And I think that the only thing that I think West Ham will win 1-0, and that'll be solely based on that they've got a better defence than Southampton. I'd almost go 0-0. I just think West Ham might nick one.
Yeah, I think West Ham are good, but not that good. So I just don't know. They're good, but are they really? That's like the real
They've
question.
been good, but they've been not the best of form, and they haven't been struggling goals.
Come on then, Rod. What's going to happen? Villa against Chelsea at Villa Park. Shame we didn't have tickets to this game. This would have been a good game to go to, Rod.
It would have been, but Boxing Day is always a fucking ball ache to get to and from because of trains being inconsistent. I've had multiple occasions where I've had tickets for Boxing Day and the trains have been so dodgy we haven't ended up going. But see, I kind of I want to know first who has COVID in the Villa camp, because obviously our game got called off late on for a lot of positive cases, and obviously 10 days wouldn't have passed since then. So it's first I want to kind of know, but I don't know. Looking at
You don't need
Chelsea,
to know
what
who's
did they
got it, Rod. You just need to know who's in charge of the Liverpool, the Villa team, and it's Stevie G. And he's not going to let this one slip.
It'd be nice if he put a shift in for us in midfield on the weekend, but obviously that's not feasible. And Chelsea wanted their game against Wolves called off, and then you look at their starting 11 and bench, and you think, what? Like, the quality is ridiculous, but how
Mate, they're shy. You're going to give it to them.
I think we can. Like, Everton have basically got a result against them. Wolves have. And I think if we go at them, I think we're good enough to beat them. But I don't think we'll be good enough on Boxing Day, especially with our depleted squad. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Chelsea win.
Oh, fuck it now. I think that's a bit miserable. I think you're going to beat them, Rod, actually. I think they're a pretty negative team, Chelsea. I don't think they look too great going forward. Not very clinical, depending on who if they've got Lukaku back in the starting 11, but I just don't seem to think he will be. And I think you guys are, since Gaud's come in, you've proven that you beat the teams below you, and you can beat them around you, and you always put up a good fight against the big boys, sorry. I just think you're going to play aggressive. You're at Villa Park. You're at home. You're going to be on the front foot, and I think you can nick something from this game. I'm going to go 2-1 Villa, and I'm going to say Ollie Watkins scores, Rod.
So he has got COVID, eh?
Let's hope. If he does, though, Gerrard will come on and bag a couple. You won't let it slip this time, I assure you. What do you think, Jack?
I like this fixture. I think it's my favourite one on Boxing Day that I'm looking forward to. But I do think that it's really down to the players missing from COVID. I think that Chelsea have just such a better and stronger sort of 18 players that they've got a lot more squad depth than Villa. And if it does really impact Villa's squad, that I'm not sure if they've got the backup to give Chelsea a good go. But if they haven't got many people missing from COVID and they can put up a good starting 11, I think Villa will, like they've done with the other big teams that they've played, put up a real good fight. And I think this one will be the one that they get a result on. And I think I'd go Villa going to win 1-0 if they've got a good starting 11.
Yeah, I think they're going to give it to him. And like you said, right, like, what's the worst that can happen? Ollie Watkins got COVID. You can bring back Louis Barry from loan, Rod. He can do it against the big boys. Brighton against Brentford. This is a game that I actually think is going to be quite a good watch. I don't think that many people are going to watch it because they're probably going to go, "Oh, they're Chelsea over. Let's go on the lash." But I think this actually might be a pretty decent game. It is one I'm surprised being televised with some of the other fixtures which are on Boxing Day, which aren't being televised. So I'm a bit shocked about this one, but I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it either way. I do like watching Brentford and Brighton play, and I do think Brentford are going to nick one in this game. I'm going to go 1-0 Brentford just because Brighton haven't looked too great going forward recently. What do you think, Jack?
I like this one as well. I think both teams, both managers play like a nice style of football. Pretty similar formations, I think.
Yeah.
Don't put me on that. But they both play quite nice football. Just like try to keep the ball, like keep on the floor. Just both enjoyable to watch. And I'm excited to see them come against each other and see who'll come out on top. I do think that Brighton might nick one.
Yeah.
I think there's one of those games where Bopai scores an 89th minute penalty or something. So, like he always seems to do. But I think Brighton will nick this one 1-0.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight either way, so I don't think it's going to be too outrageous. What do you think, Rod?
Like you said earlier, mate, this is a weird game to be selected for television coverage. Brighton, Brentford, definitely not first choice for me. But regardless, 8 o'clock on a Sunday, we've got football, so happy days.
Yeah.
We know Brighton have been hit quite badly due to COVID, so they are going to have to field a completely weakened squad. And Brentford are going to have some of their big players like Tony, Kanyos back. So I'm going to go for a Brentford 2-1 win.
Yeah, leads us on to the last game, which is, I don't know how we're going to do it this week, boys. We might have to do record a show on Monday, but not actually cover this game because United against Newcastle's on at 8 o'clock, and then on Tuesday it starts all over again at 12:30 with Arsenal against Wolves. But I actually think this Newcastle United against Manchester United is always seems to be the sort of game that Newcastle at least get a draw in. I just find like United really tend to struggle going up to St James's Park in recent years, and I could see it being another draw, something like 2-2, just because of some shoddy United defending. But on the other hand, I'm like, Rangnick's in now, and maybe this United team's going to kick on. But my head's saying 2-2. What do you think, Jack?
I think that if Solskjaer is still manager, I'd say I would agree 2-2. But I think we've got a new manager in, and these are the type of wins that he's in there now to get results in. And I do think United will be strong enough just about. I think they'll win 2-1. But I do think that one goal against United will be a defensive clanger. But apart from that, I think they'd be quite dominant in the game. Yeah. I just don't think that Newcastle are good enough against United. So I'm going to go 2-1 Manchester United.
Yeah, I think that's also logical. It's just after seeing United play Norwich away and I don't know. Rod, what are you saying?
Just looking at the football calendar, and it is absolutely crazy. I think our teams must play every 2-3 days tops. It's absolutely crazy, and I'm all for it. But touching on the United Newcastle game, I think earlier on in the season you comfortably brushed Newcastle aside with obviously the return of Ronaldo, and I feel like you're going to do the same. Rangnick's going to have had time to implement his philosophy and tactics that obviously he wants to deploy with you. I think you've played in not a couple weeks, but a good week and a bit. So I'm going to go for a comfortable 2-0 United win. And yeah, Monday at 8 o'clock, and then we're back on Tuesday, so happy days, eh?
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to do it on Monday and just not cover the United game. But yeah, I guess that's the end of the show. Wait, actually, before we go, are you guys actually bringing anyone in now this week for fantasy or not?
I'm really undecided. I've got 2 moves in my head. I'm planning for the double game weeks in 21 and 22. So I don't know whether to roll the transfer so I get a bigger picture in the next game week, or to bring in If I do bring in a move, it will be Son for Foden, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that this week or next week.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Jack? Are you thinking about any potential moves?
I haven't really thought about it too much. But
Yeah.
I've got 2 free transfers. So I think I'll have to look at the fixtures and maybe, like Rod said, plan ahead to the first double game weeks.
Yeah, I think that's probably the
I think
wise
bringing in
move.
Son. I think for Rod that's quite a good pick, and I was potentially thinking Son, but again, like maybe because, and then again, I've got Robinson out with a red card. It could just be an easy swap to get Trent in.
Yeah.
I haven't really done too much thought about it.
Yeah, for me, it's just probably going to be replacing Huang. I'm not really too sure who I'm going to go with yet, but that's definitely something I need to do over Christmas. And that is the end of the show. Just before we go, just want to wish everyone out there, I hope they have a very Merry Christmas. Or if they don't celebrate Christmas, just have a happy holiday, have some good time off, have a couple of beers if you're of legal age. And, just take care. It's a bit of a scary world at the moment, but just keep going. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.